Unless you live under a rock, I'm sure you've seen the Star Wars Jedi Survivor trailer by now, which was shown at the Game Awards.
I want to thank everybody and say that I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. Thank you, everybody.
But there's also been a ton of gameplay details and some other crazy info going around through interviews, as well as a lot of hidden details we can take away from the trailer, especially the gameplay in it. This game will feature a much darker Cal Kestis, and is already looking like what could be one of the greatest Star Wars games out there, and has a release date set just around the corner on March 17th, 2023 for next-gen consoles and PC. Set just 5 years after the events of Jedi Fallen Order, and obviously just looking at the gameplay alone, Cal has developed his skills quite a bit, using a lot more force moves and looking like he's seen some stuff. There's been a lot of talk on the gameplay possibly featuring different stances because of how many different lightsaber styles appeared in the trailer, which I've always thought would be an amazing idea for a Star Wars game because of how many different lightsaber styles and fighting styles exist out there. I could definitely see a For Honor style of strategic combat gameplay someday where you're parrying specific moves, but I highly doubt they'll ever go that in depth. The stance mechanic, however, could totally be legit, since now we don't only have the single lightsaber and the dual-bladed lightsaber, but also have the dual wield, which probably wasn't crazy hard to implement since it was already used in Fallen Order during some specific moves, just not its own individual thing, where now you can run around dual wielding and blocking shots from all different angles, and that's what it seems like these different styles could offer, are just different benefits to your playstyle, obviously, whereas the dual wield would swing faster and realistically would probably be the best style. We also have the infamous Kylo Ren style lightsaber, except this one seems a bit more stable, even having guards at the bottom to keep Cal from getting burnt. This lightsaber seems intentionally created this way, whereas Kylo Ren's lightsaber seems to represent his personality of just being extremely unstable. That guard on the crossbeams of the lightsaber is a really cool detail to see, and really just enhances the way that these give off that Claymore sword style. Maybe this lightsaber will allow you to do more damage but swing slower, kind of like how Kylo Ren wasn't exactly the fastest and most nimble Jedi out there, and almost looked more like a medieval knight himself. It's hard to tell in this short clip of gameplay shown of Cal using it, but it does seem to lean more towards a heavier lightsaber, and I could see this one also giving some sort of parry buff. Now, if stances aren't a thing, these different lightsaber styles are still really cool. Even just having the ability to equip these different styles of lightsabers from normal to dual-bladed, dual wield, and the crossguard gives us so many options for potential builds and ways to play. Back just a couple of days before the Game Awards, we got some pretty heavy leaks showing the Jedi Survival listing on Amazon, which ended up being 100% true, showing off the pre-order bonuses like the Hermit cosmetic, obviously Obi-Wan's style of outfit, his lightsaber hilt, and a combustion blaster set, which is a cosmetic and it says it is equipable.
Jedi do not carry blasters.
Meaning that we could possibly finally hone the skills of a lightsaber and blaster dual-wielding Jedi. Since, I mean, dual-wielding lightsabers is a thing already in Jedi Survivor, we might be able to end up wielding a lightsaber and a blaster at the same time. And if a Jedi was going to get away with doing that, why not Cal, since he's basically making up his own fighting style as he goes along, not really being constricted to the ways of the Jedi. I mean, we already see that with other things of these games, like him using the Force Choke, which an ordinary Jedi wouldn't do. Realistically though, we'll probably be able to swap between them to remain more hidden, since using his Force abilities was what started the events of Fallen Order, or we might be able to stick with one or the other throughout certain levels to seem less Jedi-ish. There also might end up being a mechanic where you can just hold the left trigger or right click to pull out a blaster and shoot it whenever you need to. Kinda just use it as a ranged weapon throughout combat. Back to the other editions though, if you pre-order the Deluxe Edition, you get Han Solo's outfit, a BD-1 cosmetic and iconic blaster, along with Luke's outfit and lightsaber, and a little R2-D2 style paint job for your BD-1. But this edition does end up costing $90, so you can decide if those cosmetic items are worth it, but probably not. I was hoping that this price point meant potential DLC being included, but it doesn't look like that's the plan to include that in here as of now. It seems like the extra $20 is strictly for these cosmetics. The interesting part of this is that the outfits and cosmetics are already looking hugely improved rather than the basic ones we had in Fallen Order, and hopefully that trend continues with the actual in-game items that don't need to be purchased. Along with that, you have the $300 Collector's Edition, which is a wild price, but I mean, that's kind of the point of these editions anyways. It comes with Cal's lightsaber hilt, which apparently is fully functional if you purchase a blade for it, a box to hold the hilt, and the steel book containing the Deluxe Edition of Jedi Survivor. But back to the gameplay, there's obviously a lot of improvement with Cal's Force abilities. As you saw, his Force stasis ended up halting everything around him, and then used the Force pull to quickly pull the droid over into his own blaster bolt. I don't even know how there's enough buttons to do all of this on your controller, but it also looks like you can force pull enemies to use them. We already talked a bit about force choke, but it'll be interesting to see if Cal taps into the dark side at all, since he doesn't follow those typical Jedi rules, and the actor who plays Cal himself has talked about Cal's perspectives and worldviews around him being changed, and stated that back before Jedi Survivor started development, he told the director that he'd like to see a darker and more complex Cal himself, which I don't know why he would give this in an interview if it weren't going to actually happen. You probably also saw our new buddy named Bode doing a little combat roll into an enemy who is stated to be a new ally who offers Cal a hand. And I swear, not only does this guy look like he could be related to Jango or Boba Fett, but he's dual-wielding blasters and has a jetpack. He could just be some sort of bounty hunter though. The only other buddies you see in the trailer are all animals who he seemingly befriends and uses as a mount to fly around or ride on top of for some combat on the go, potentially giving us much bigger areas to explore, as the majority of Fallen Order was extremely linear, with not a whole lot of area to ride around at all. Jedi Survivor is also stated to have much bigger areas to explore, with players who adventure beyond the horizon finding hidden rewards. So it sounds like we'll have more of a Gears 5 God of War style of levels, where it's more of a semi-open world where you can travel to different planets with some open world sections. As for Cal's actual companions from Fallen Order, they are absolutely nowhere to be seen, which hints at potentially having to find them or rescue them, and will likely be a major plot point in the game. Cameron Monaghan himself even stated that the game starts off with a dire situation where Cal is in a bit over his head trying to find ways to rebel, but is having a hard time doing so. So yeah, that's pretty much all that we get from the trailer. We already know that Cal was pretty much Jedi Knight level strong, but not really too high up there on the totem pole, you know? Not quite competing with Jedi like Ahsoka, Mace Windu, or Obi-Wan, but definitely showed potential, being able to defeat Inquisitors and escape Darth Vader with not much other than being gifted in the Force and with little training whatsoever. Now it looks like he's even stronger, having spent some time training, kinda like Luke in the Return of the Jedi, busting in like a new man, hopefully having tapped into the dark side of the Force, but definitely nowhere as powerful as Luke. This all makes the improved gameplay you see in the trailer kinda make more sense, and the combat a little more canon, almost going from this very simple button smashy format, which was probably the biggest downside of Fallen Order, to getting all of these different Force moves and different skills that you can see throughout the combat. It actually makes sense seeing untrained Cal have very stale moves, and now seeing him more powerful with what seems to be a crazy set of ways to go about combat. I really like the direction that this is taking. I haven't seen anybody else say it, so maybe it's just got like recency bias, but the trailer gave me crazy God of War Ragnarok vibes. Not just the giant monsters or finding this hidden dude who was locked away after being betrayed, but how it seemed like they had a game that was already great and didn't change the overall feel to the sequel, but just expanded on it and refined it and improved the worst parts of the last game, which really weren't that bad. God of War was nearly a perfect game in my opinion, but now that the sequel came out, I can't even go back to it. It seems so bland in comparison because of how much more in-depth they've gone. And that's what it looks like is going on here. Just looking at Fallen Order now, the customization and combat doesn't seem like much at all when you look at the trailer. But that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think of the Star Wars Jedi Survivor trailer and the gameplay that we've seen so far down in the comments. See ya.